So, looking at the second half of Plato's Crito here, um, Socrates has basically told Crito the basis upon which we will decide to act will be philosophical. That is, we'll act in whatever way on the after inquiry, after reflection, seems right, and we'll go with the best argument about what is right, not what is most expedient, what is most pressing, getting out and avoiding death, but rather about asking whether it would be right to leave, whether it would be just to leave, and after inquiring into that question and coming up with what seems to be the right answer, we'll follow that, whatever it is. That's such a commitment, I think, on Socrates' part, commitment to philosophy, a commitment to living your life on your best guess about how life should in general be lived, on principle. That's a great commitment considering the circumstances, which are life and death. So the first thing that he says is, haven't we decided that is always that you should never intentionally do wrong? That it is never justified to intentionally do wrong. And that it doesn't matter if you've been wronged. It doesn't matter if you are been victimized by an injustice. That would not justify doing an injustice in return. That it's never justified to harm anyone, even if you've been harmed, which is a very deep principle in Socrates' philosophy. That is, that the intentional doing of wrong is never justified. And so, what he's got to decide then, if that principle is taken for granted, which it certainly is by Socrates, um, whether in accepting Crito's help and surreptitiously getting smuggled out of Athens and avoiding the legal sentence against him of death, whether he would be doing harm, whether he would be injuring another, whether he would be intentionally doing wrong. And it would be on the basis of that, the answer to that question, that he would decide whether to stay or leave. And the way that Socrates proceeds with that is really quite striking, because he imagines himself in a dialogue with the laws of Athens. And it's really quite remarkable that Socrates, Plato can come up with this astounding dialogue in which basically Socrates is chastised. He imagines himself being chastised by the laws of Athens and accused, if he's even thinking of running away, accused of trying to destroy them. And this is really the crux of the dialogue. Socrates has had a trial, and he's had an attempt to defend himself in front of a jury, and that jury went against him. Period. That's how Socrates sees it. What he's being asked to do is to flout that sentence, that legal sentence. That is to ignore it and really to act unlawfully. And what the laws of Athens say is that you're destroying us. You're attacking us. We who have basically made you who you are, the laws of Athens, you in response have tried to kill us, have tried to destroy us. And we can see, what the general principle here is. The law has gone against Socrates, but is that an excuse for going against the law? Socrates basically says no. Agrees, the laws have made their case that if you're committed to lawfulness, if you're committed to the laws, then you're committed to whatever they ultimately decide with regard to your fate. And that you have no right to disobey them. And even if it's inconvenient for you, even if it ends up killing you, to ignore them is to attack lawfulness itself. And then where would we be without the laws? It's a very, very deep question terms of our relationship with the laws of our community, with the political structures of our community itself. Do we have the right to ignore them when we think they're wrong? Because Socrates certainly thinks that the law was wrong, or at least the decision was wrong. He certainly thinks that the charges were ridiculous and untrue. But after all, they were legally, lawfully, that those charges were legally and lawfully brought, and the jury accepted that they were correct. So what do you do? What do you do? That's the question. That's what makes the dialogue great, is that, even though Socrates is given a certain, through the laws, a certain argument that he has no choice but to accept the lawful sentence, even though it be unjust, that does not decide the matter. I mean, how can, if a sentence is unjust, don't I have the right to oppose it? Well, Socrates says, yes, you have the right to oppose it. You have the right to make your case in court. And that's what he did. Rationally persuade the laws to rule in your favor. But if they don't, or if it doesn't, if the state doesn't, then you simply must accept. I don't know how many of us would go with that, accept that as a principle. But that's Socrates' principle, and he's going to go with it. And so he basically silences Crito. Crito accepts at the end. Crito says, I have nothing to say, Socrates, basically saying, I give up. You obviously are committed philosophically to going through with this thing. So one wonders whether Crito really is convinced by Socrates' defense of the laws or not. I don't know. But he's going to die. I mean, he's not going to accept Crito's help. He's going to await the death sentence, and he's going to die.